and you kind of just want to stay in for forever. So I'm certain I will be looking back at a lot of pictures and videos from today. Very thankful to be able to come back to a place that continues to support me, and it's just fun.
Their 2026 season on the road against the Dallas Wings last Saturday. Clark put up 20 points and 7 assists. She had the ball in her hands with the game on the line, a chance to tie it, force overtime, and her three-pointer rimmed out. Game over. Fever lose. Now here's where things get interesting. Hours later, not days, not the next morning, literally hours after that loss, Caitlin Clark was photographed on stage at a Morgan Wallen concert in Indianapolis. Smiling, waving at the crowd, having the time of her life. And people lost it. Some fans were furious about the concert itself. Wallen has his own list of controversies, and a lot of people felt like showing up for him sends the wrong message. Others weren't even focused on the concert. They were focused on the missed shot, the loss. And they started asking out loud what some had apparently been thinking privately for a while now. Is Caitlin Clark actually as good as everyone says she is? Enter Tyrone Johnson. Johnson co-hosts The Craig Carton Show, and he decided this was the perfect moment to drop what he clearly thought was a nuclear-level take. He compared Caitlin Clark to Jeremy Lin, as in Linsanity, as in the guy who had one incredible stretch of games for the Knicks back in 2012, became a global phenomenon overnight, and then, according to a lot of people, never quite lived up to the hype again. Johnson's exact words were something along the lines of, "She's not the best player in the WNBA, she's not even the best guard in the WNBA, and she's not even the best guard from her own college class, because that title belongs to Paige Bueckers, who plays for the same Dallas Wings team that just beat Indiana in the opener." His conclusion? Years from now, we won't remember Caitlin Clark the way we remember Michael Jordan. We'll remember her the way we remember Jeremy Lin. A moment. A flash. Linsanity. WNBA edition. Now, let's actually sit with that for a second before we get to the reactions, because the take deserves a real response, not just mockery. Is Paige Bueckers better than Caitlin Clark right now? That's a legitimate conversation. Bueckers is electric, she's the real deal, and she just had a debut season in Dallas that turned heads across the entire league. If you want to argue Bueckers is the better guard today, there's a version of that argument that holds water. Completely valid basketball discussion. But here's where Johnson's take falls apart. Comparing Clark to Jeremy Lin requires you to ignore her entire statistical resume. This isn't someone who had a hot week and disappeared. As a rookie in 2024, Clark set a single-season WNBA record for assists. She was named first-team All-WNBA. She won Rookie of the Year. She finished 4th in MVP voting in her first professional season. 4th. That's not a flash in the pan. That's a genuinely elite basketball player making an immediate impact on the highest level of the women's game. Then injuries cost her most of 2025. She only played 13 games, and she still made the All-Star team. 13 games. Still an all-star. Jeremy Lin had Linsanity. Clark has built an actual case over multiple seasons that she belongs at the top of this league. Those are very different stories. But here's the thing, and this is the part that gets under people's skin. The media framing around Clark has always been complicated. ESPN's own panel of analysts ranked her 10th best in the WNBA heading into this season. 10th. And Boardroom recently published a piece saying she's only the 3rd most marketable player in the league right now. 3rd. You've got a player who holds the all-time NCAA scoring record for any gender, who shattered WNBA assist records as a rookie, who draws massive TV ratings every single time she plays, and the league's own ecosystem keeps finding ways to push her down the list. Whether that's legitimate statistical analysis or something else entirely, that's a conversation fans are having constantly, and it doesn't look like it's going away anytime soon. The reaction to Johnson's take was exactly what you'd expect. Fans came out swinging. One person wrote that they've watched people work overtime to dismiss a player who just wants to compete, and that when Clark tears through the season, the same people will scramble for new excuses. Another called it the dumbest take they'd ever read. A third said, and this one's pretty accurate, that calling someone the Jeremy Lin of the WNBA is what you say when you haven't watched a single game, but still want to sound like you have a strong opinion. And then there were the people who stepped back from the pure basketball argument entirely and said something that might actually be the most important point of all. Her legacy is already cemented. Whatever happens on the court going forward, Caitlin Clark is the person who brought a new generation of fans to the WNBA. Full stop. That doesn't disappear because of one missed shot, one loss, or one controversial concert attendance. Here's the reality heading into the rest of the season. Clark is healthy. She's motivated. She's playing in a league that's growing faster than it ever has before, partly because of the attention she brought to it. The Fever have a full season ahead of them, and every single game Clark plays is going to be scrutinized, debated, broken down, and turned into content by people who either desperately want her to succeed or desperately want to be proven right about her limitations. That's the position she's in. Not because she asked for it, not because the hype was manufactured, but because she genuinely moved the needle for women's basketball in a way that almost nobody saw coming, and that almost nobody else has ever done. So the Jeremy Lin comparison? It was always going to get clicks. It was always going to start a fight. But let's be real, Jeremy Lin never set a league record in his sport. Jeremy Lin never won Rookie of the Year. Jeremy Lin never finished fourth in MVP voting. The comparison was designed to provoke, not to inform, and the internet responded to it exactly the way the internet responds to everything. Loudly, passionately, and without a whole lot of nuance. One game into the 2026 season, and the noise is already deafening. Imagine where we'll be by the playoffs. The question was never whether people would talk about Caitlin Clark. The question has always been whether the people talking actually know what they're watching, and based on everything we've seen so far, the answer to that question is still very much up for debate. One game. That's all it took. One single WNBA game, and the internet was already on fire about Caitlin Clark. The Indiana Fever opened their 2026 season on the road against the Dallas Wings last Saturday. Clark put up 20 points and 7 assists. She had the ball in her hands with the game on the line, a chance to tie it, force overtime, and her three-pointer rimmed out. Game over. Fever lose. Now here's where things get interesting. Hours later, not days, not the next morning, literally hours after that loss, Caitlin Clark was photographed on stage at a Morgan Wallen concert in Indianapolis. Smiling, waving at the crowd, having the time of her life. And people lost it. Some fans were furious about the concert itself. Wallen has his own list of controversies, and a lot of people felt like showing up for him sends the wrong message. Others weren't even focused on the concert. They were focused on the missed shot, the loss. And they started asking out loud what some had apparently been thinking privately for a while now. Is Caitlin Clark actually as good as everyone says she is? Enter Tyrone Johnson. Johnson co-hosts The Craig Carton Show, and he decided this was the perfect moment to drop what he clearly thought was a nuclear-level take.